Good evening and welcome to tonight's Facebook Live on the void, entering the void. It's a topic that John spoke about in his talk, and it's caused quite a few questions, some concern, some confusion, which is great because it means that people are thinking and feeling. Hi Sonia, Juliet, Anita, good to have you here. Marianne. I think there's going to be a few people here tonight. We've got Karen, Amanda, Elaine, Eri. Hi Eri, I hope it's nice in Japan. So I'd like to start by saying a little bit about the void. John calls the void the space between our physical reality and our spiritual reality. It's a dimension between worlds, as it were, where we can go to connect. Hi Clara, hi Ola. In 2013, when he first started his series of talks, he did quite a bit on the void. In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, there were 3 talks devoted to the topic, because for him it's an important area for us to understand. Hi Glynis. In those 3 talks he talked about the void from the perspective of our personality, but when he spoke about entering the void this year, he was talking about it from our ability to connect from a higher self perspective to the universe and to that aspect of the void which is called the void of infinite possibilities. Hi Maria, hi Tracy. And what was interesting for me was he actually pointed out that there are 2 areas. If we sit and imagine that we're in a place where anything is possible, if we allow ourselves to explore what those possibilities might be, then we're in the space of infinite possibility that's our space. If we go into meditation and we connect through our heart and our higher self to the void, and we ask to be taken to the area of limitless possibilities, we're going to the area that the universe has available for us. And it's very different. Hi Yumiko, nice to have you here. It's very different because our space of infinite possibilities is limited by our capacity to imagine. It's that simple. If we can't imagine it, it's not possible. Whereas when we go into the void, we go into a space where everything is possible, without exception, good or bad. And what he was trying to encourage us to do was to go into that space more, to allow ourselves to be inspired, to aspire, to lift our frequency. And in lifting our frequency, taking that energy out into the world so that, as he once said, be an infection, infect other people with it. So they're 2 very different spaces, as Amanda says. She's tried both. And when we go into the universal space, the void, it's so expansive. We kind of feel as though we're slowing down, which we are. Our vibration of do is dissipating, that mental energy that keeps us moving. But our soul and its connection to our higher self and the universe is opening up. So we both slow down and expand at the same time, but the expansion isn't fast. We have time to catch all the limitless possibilities that are available to us if we wish. And probably we do wish. However, John has suggested that out of everything that seems possible We select the one thing that has the loudest impact for us. And by that I mean the one that resonates the most deeply with us. And then we work with it. Okay, so Orla started with the questions. What's the void and has it always existed? The void has always existed in this universe. And that's a deliberate addition, in this universe. It's how the two states of being are separated, matter and spirit. So yes, it's always been there, and it always will be there, because it's kind of a... Some of you may have heard me talk about the ring pass knot, which is the area around the planet that holds the planetary energy together, and is a kind of protection from too much bombardment from energies from out of space, which may not resonate to the energy of the planet. So the void is a kind of ring pass knot also, and it protects us and it protects spirit. It protects spirit from us being too over enthusiastic, and it protects us from trying to access spiritual frequencies that we're not ready for, and perhaps doing ourselves some damage because we're not ready for it. So it's an interesting space. I think Abraham calls it the vortex. Different words, same energy. So, hi Sin, Clara says, isn't that you'll feel there is spacious, timeless and expansive when in the void? Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. You've got so much space, and there is no time, because we created the time that we live by. Universal time is a very different energy. And we just keep growing and growing and expanding and expanding. So the difficulty is that you might get lost and not want to come back. So if you're going to do that exercise, ensure that you've set it up to be called back after 20 minutes. Otherwise, you can get lost. It's not a good idea. So what's the difference between thinking you're in the void and knowing you're in the void? Orla says, is it the difference between being in your own space of limitlessness and being in the void of limitless possibilities? It is, but some people can't tell the difference. If you're imagining, then you're in your own space of infinite possibility, and that is limited. Even though it seems limitless, it's limited, as I said earlier, by your imagination. If we can't imagine it, it's not possible. When we're in the void of limitless possibilities, everything is possible. So one is a connection through the head, the imagination. The other is a connection through the heart, the soul and the higher self. And yes, Clara, I can appreciate you don't want to come back. It's quite seductive. Hi, Haresh. Good to have you join us. So, can you be presented with a limitless possibility that you've been presented with many times before, but in different ways? That's a tricky question. The answer is yes and no. If that possibility has come from your own space of limitlessness, it will keep coming up because it's on your mind. It's at the back of your mind, and every so often something will trigger it and it will come forward. John says that if you've gone into the void and connected there, you will be presented with a possibility, and you will keep being presented with the most important, significant possibility for you at this time, for you to deal with it. If you go back, and every time you go back there's a different one, you're not actually in the void, you're in your own space. It's not bad, as he says, it's just not the core that you want to access. So Spirit will present you with the same possibility for quite some time, and if you keep ignoring it, eventually it will stop, something else will crop up, and it may come back, or you may have missed the boat. It may be that your energy's moved in a different direction, and that possibility you don't need anymore. Orla says she's a bit confused about the process of the meditation exercise John gave. He asked that we go into the void ask to be shown the possibilities that are available to us, work with that possibility in our own inner space. Let me clarify this. So you go into your meditation, you connect to your heart chakra. Through your heart chakra, you ask to enter the void of limitless possibilities. And there's a possibility there that resonates really strongly. As you sit in that meditation, you ask to be shown as much of that peace as possible. And sometimes, as he says, it's not always possible to be given all of the information immediately. Sometimes we have to build up to it. So we may have to go in 2 or 3 times before we can really stitch the pieces together and begin to see what they're talking about. However, once we've done that, once we've got that peace, that's not the end, that's the beginning. Then we go into our own space, our own imagination, and we say, very well, this is what I've been given. What can I do to bring it about? What are the things I know, I can imagine, I can sense, I can feel that could help me work with this piece? And one of the things he talks about is the fact that we all have hidden mindsets. He's talked about it before, as you all know. So sometimes what might happen when we go to work on it isn't that we start looking at a plan of how to make something happen, but that what crops up is a thought or an attitude we have that doesn't see ourselves equal to the task. And that's a limit to the possibility. And that's the first thing to work on. Not from a position of judgment, from the position that if I don't think I'm ready for it, what can I do to be ready for it? Not what do I have to heal? How do I have to fix it? What do I have to be ready for it? Hi Toshi, nice to have you join us. Anita says, is one the concept and the other the action? Not necessarily, but yes, you could say that you get the concept from the void and then in your own space you develop the actions, but sometimes the void will give you the action. So you need to be really clear that you're not interpreting what you're being given and running away with your own idea. And Clara asks, of course, an excellent question, is there any way to keep the vibration that resonates to the void? Yes, it's really simple. Believe anything's possible. The more that you believe anything's possible, the more you lift your frequency. So what you do is you go into meditation, you find out what the limitless possibility is for you now. Then when you've got all the detail you can out of your meditation, and it may take you 2 or 3 times, or you may get it clear the first time, then you go into your own space and you work with it and you understand it, and it will start to come together. And what will happen is that as you go through your day-to-day life, opportunities will crop up, either to anchor what you're understanding, or opportunities will crop up to guide you to where you can anchor. Hi Andrew, nice to have you join us. Andrew asks, can you feel your way into this state? By going through your heart chakra and sitting there and feeling the energy of your higher self in the universe? Yes, you can. You can't think your way into it. You're right. It's about a feeling. Okay, and yes, Clara, you trust what you've got. Okay, Juliet says, what's the difference between entering the void via the simple intent to go into the void compared with specifically stepping into the void from the place of our heart? If you can't imagine what the void of limitless possibilities is like, setting an intent won't take you there. It'll take you to what you think it might be like when you get there. Going into your heart, connecting at a heart level to your soul, your higher self, to the universe, you will start to feel that expansiveness I spoke about earlier. And in feeling that expansiveness, you will know. It will be really clear. So for me, because this is how I do it, that's always been the simplest way for me to make that connection, and that's based on how John described it. So I hope that clarifies for you, Juliet. You can't get to the void through the third eye or the eighth chakra. Not at this level. Until your soul's shattered and you're aligned to your higher self totally, your third eye will be more of a protection than an open door to some energies that are very refined, for want of a better word. And because going out into the void is so, or can be so seductive, if you stepped out through your eighth chakra and got carried away with what you were experiencing, you could drift off and never come back. So I don't recommend that you do it that way. I recommend you go through your heart, because your heart will keep you anchored. Okay. Amanda says she's been doing the Entering the Void meditation and feels like it's a meditation she's going to do and develop for quite some time. I think that's a fair point, Amanda. This isn't something that you do once and you hope you've got all the answers. You won't. And you know, we access one possibility and we start to work with it. And then when we've finished, and this is another question, so I'm bringing two together here. When we've finished, we'll get another one. Something else will come up when we go into the void. Another possibility that's really us being guided to the next step and the next step and the next step. So Amanda says, do I have any tips for maintaining the momentum of this talk and meditation over several years? Just do it. What I would suggest is that perhaps once a month or once every couple of months, you mark it in your diary that for a week, you're going to do this and see what happens. Right, now, here we go again. I've got a comment from Clara and I can't read all of it. So the bit I can see says, is the void the same as the status of emptiness described in Buddhism? It's interesting. Apparently I'm not the only person having this problem. Last time I said yes and I can't read anymore. Ola has said that she'll kindly type the end of that sentence for me, so I'm going to wait for her to do that. It is the same as the state of emptiness described in Buddhism, and yet, thanks Ola, I said yes and no. And I said yes and no because possibilities aren't emptiness. You have to be empty to be in the void. In other words, you have to be willing to go there without expectation. You have to be willing to be a vessel waiting to receive what the universe, what spirit wishes you to know. So you go in a state of emptiness, but the void isn't the state of emptiness. It's the state of being in which we enter it. Perhaps that clarifies it. Amanda says she felt she wasn't setting the void up in the way I described, so she's going to try that. Great, that's good. I hope that clarifies for you, Clara. If not, let me know. I might just have confused things even more. What happens when we see all there is of a particular situation, this is from Bronwyn, within the void of limitless possibilities, and it feels as though that aspect has been explored fully? Do we continue to work with it? When it's complete, when we have worked with the possibility that's been presented to us, we'll know. We'll go into meditation, there'll be nothing more there. Not necessarily that there'll be a new possibility, there'll be an absence of possibilities to show us, and here we go back to the emptiness again, there'll be an absence of possibilities to show us that that one's finished. And then we can say, okay, I'm not going to do this for a little while, I'll do something else. Or at that point, you can sit and wait for another possibility to present itself. You let go the moment you feel It's over. Orla says, for me, emptiness is more like the exercise John gave us to connect to our essence and let everything... And I can't see any more, Orla. Hi, Caroline. Glad to have you here. So I just need that last little bit again, please, Orla. Connect to our essence and let everything... Whatever. I'll come back when you... Oh, let everything else go. It's true. It is about letting everything else go. But it's about us. Emptiness is about... That state of emptiness is about us. The void can't be empty if it's full of infinite possibilities. But it's... You could say it's a state of suspension. They're there. But they're not active at that point. It's kind of like a soda stream. You put your liquid and it's there. And you put it into the machine and you press a button or pull a lever or whatever you do. And next minute, your liquid's got air bubbles in it. The air bubbles were in the machine, but they weren't doing anything until you connected the bottle. It's a bit of a clumsy idea, but I hope it makes a bit of sense. Okay, Bronwyn said when she sat to do the exercise, she saw what she'd always wanted and felt as though she'd been there before. And her question is, do we explore this void of limitless possibilities of children, as children, or is it that we explore in our dreams and daydreams? We don't explore as children. As children, we already know. When we incarnate, we already know. We have that knowing within us. We don't have to go to the void to find it. It's present. Yes, Elaine, a state of suspension. You're there but not connected. So as a child, we don't visit the void of limitless possibilities. We don't need to. But as adults, we go there in our dreams or even in our daydreams to maintain that connection, to develop the link through which spirit can guide us. And so when you consciously go there, it's a bit like deja vu. You consciously go there and something is there and you have a feeling that you've done this or seen this or somehow this has appeared before. It's because you did it while you were asleep. Because of course while we're asleep we all leave our bodies and we go traipsing off here, there and everywhere. Final question from Bronwyn. Is it our own personal limitless possibilities or are the limitless possibilities available for everyone? When we go into the void, we go to the place where the limitless possibilities are able to be discovered by everyone, yes. However, our frequency will take us to the area where those possibilities resonate to who we are and resonate to what our purpose is, what we've come to achieve. So we're not overwhelmed with 20 billion trillion possibilities. What we access are those that are specific to who we are and the frequency at which we resonate. Because don't forget, those possibilities aren't there just as a toy to play with. They are there to help us fulfill our divine plan. And in doing so, to be a small cog in the wheel of the divine plan. And next month, we'll be talking about our presence. And then after that, we'll be talking about the gift shop. So the next couple of months, we'll be going into this in a bit more detail. Haresh says, and this is the final question, unless somebody else has one that they want to post while I'm talking. Haresh asks, is working with our connection with our higher selves before entering the void important? And does it matter if we enter the void of limitless possibilities if we're working with our higher selves? Interesting questions. If you took the void away for a moment, we all benefit from working with our higher selves because our higher selves hold the blueprint of who we are and what we came here to do. So I would think, anticipate, not expect, but hope that all of you are working with your higher selves in one way or another. Does that preclude working with the void? No. Because your higher self has your blueprint. Being curious creatures, I'm pretty certain that even if you knew what your blueprint was, you'd want to know, was there anything else or anything other, somewhere different, something different? Going into the void of infinite possibilities, you go to see the bigger picture, not just your picture. If you only work with your higher self, you're doing good work, and that work is limited to your purpose. If you work with your higher self and the void, then your work is on what you need to do, but also on the bigger picture that you're part of, and some of those possibilities will help you to fulfill that role. So, yes to both. It's important that we do this. Does anyone have a question? Because it's quite a deep topic. On Wednesday, we have a new moon. And it's significant because Uranus enters Pisces at the same time. Uranus, you could say, is a planet of limitless possibilities. You could. It's also a planet of shocks. But with that new moon, we are entering into a whole new dynamic. So this exercise of connecting to the void and the possibilities is significant now. How coincidental. It's significant now because we're at a turning point here. And of course, at the end of March, the full moon is also connected to the equinox. The two are together, and that begins next year, the next moon calendar. So this particular topic, if you get your head around it and start to explore to see what the possibilities are that are available to you, could actually plant some seeds for you to work with the energy of the next year. I hope I've clarified some of it. Amanda's asked if we could talk about this again in a couple of months, and yes, we can. I think there's a few things from this year that it would be good to revisit already. What I'd like is for people that have found something interesting or want a little bit more information about it, if you could post here or email me, then we can start looking at how we can do more of a roundup of some of the lives to bring a few things together into one. Juliet, I can only see some of it. Can we enter the void of limitless possibilities with a focus on one specific area of our life we are focused on at the moment? If you do, you are directing spirit. It's quite possible that you might have a pain in your neck. If you work on your neck, that pain may go and it may not. If you scan your energy and you find that your hip's out and you work on the hip, the pain in the neck will go. So sometimes what you think you need to work on isn't actually the thing you most need to work on in order to achieve what you think you need to work on, if you see what I mean. I would suggest, instead of focusing on one specific area, you go into the void of limitless possibilities and you say something like, this is my area of concern, show me what I need to address first. And be prepared for it not to be obviously about what your concern is. Be open to being shown steps that may not be obvious to you, but are very obvious to Spirit. So I hope that helps. Thanks, Orla. I'm glad it's clarified and that it's helped you to get back on track. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking with you next time, which may be changed because I think we may be on retreat, but I'll get back to you about that. So have a great evening, and thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you next time.